Hey, what's up you guys? It's me, Melody, and I am back for a new video today. Sorry I didn't post last week. I just got really busy and I didn't really want to make a video that was like really rushed and kind of forced, so I decided to wait till this week to make the video. Also, I finally got a new camera, and I know a couple of you commented down below and thought it might be this issue or that issue. But there were a couple things wrong with the camera. I'd had it for 5 years, and even the little dial on the top of the camera to like change the ISO or the aperture or all that kind of like camera settings was completely broken. It didn't work, and there was just some weird issues I was having that I'd never had previously as long as I've owned this camera. So I got a new camera last week too. And I was kind of playing around with it and kind of wanted to figure it out first before I filmed a video, so that's another reason why I didn't film last week. But hopefully this camera is going to be a lot better and not have all those in and out blurry issues like I was in my last camera. So yeah. But anyways, I'm going to get right into the topic today. In this video, I'm going to be wrapping up kind of the vegan series I did for a month. I did 4 videos kind of documenting my whole experience, what I ate, what I was feeling, what I was doing, what I was cooking on the diet, and a lot of other stuff. And in this video, I just kind of wanted to talk a lot more in depth of kind of my thoughts and my experience while being vegan for a month and doing that challenge. First off, I want to say that the challenge surprisingly was not that hard for me. And I think it's really different for anyone going vegan depending on how they were eating before or their circumstances or who's surrounding them. I had a lot of really positive people around me when I started the vegan journey, that even if they weren't vegan, no one was judging me or saying where do you get your protein or anything like that, which is typically common questions when people decide to go vegan or just decide to try the diet. I luckily had a lot of support. My husband, even though he was still eating lots of meat and lots of dairy and I was still cooking him all those things, he was super supportive and positive for me to try the vegan diet. And even if like I was tempted, he'd be like, no, like you need to stay on the diet and that kind of stuff. And then also just friends of mine are really supportive. In Santa Barbara, it's like, I feel like in California in general and certain parts of SoCal, like there already is this really strong like health culture here. So hearing someone like being gluten-free or dairy-free or doing a plant-based diet, people are so used to hearing that because it's so ingrained in the culture here that, to be honest, I found it easy to do here. And I would imagine that if you live somewhere else, maybe it wouldn't be as socially acceptable to be vegan, or it might be more foreign depending on where you live. But if I'm honest, I did not have a lot of that. It was fairly easy. People were supportive. No one really even asked me a lot of questions about it. They just thought it was cool that I was doing it. And something else I want to talk about with this journey is kind of the diet you had before. So I think a lot of people, not all, but maybe some people, I feel like go from the crazy standard American diet and then they try a plant-based diet for the first time, and it's kind of like a shock to them because what they were consuming before was so unhealthy that it's a harder transition into the vegan diet. Maybe for some, maybe not everybody, but I've watched videos and heard people kind of talk about that. For me, I will say that I had already been eating healthy and clean, and for like 2 years ago, I was dairy-free for a year. So I have had experience in the past not eating dairy. And also I already buy non-dairy stuff even before this challenge. So I haven't drinking milk in like 5 years. I do almond or coconut milk or something like that. On rare occasion, I'll do soy milk. I also don't do dairy creamers. I haven't done that in years. I don't buy cheese, but I would eat it when I'd go out places, but I wouldn't actually buy it myself most of the time. On occasion, I would buy goat cheese, like if I had friends coming over or something like that. But I had already had that challenge in my life and had already slowly been cutting out dairy. So it wasn't like this huge, crazy transition for me with dairy because I'd already kind of decided to cut it out before and had come back to it. And like I stated in my previous video, I've been gluten-free for a long time, so I've kind of been used to having a more restricted diet or having restrictions when I would eat out. So I was already kind of in that mindset when I ate out, that I was like, transitioning to vegan wasn't as challenging because I was like, oh, okay, here's just another restriction. Like, I'm just used to being that person, you know? So I will say that like my experience will probably be a lot different than someone that was eating lots of meat, lots of dairy, lots of just like maybe non-healthy food. I already valued eating healthy food and more fruits and vegetables, and I did lots of green smoothies. And also before this challenge, I was doing meat once a day or every other day. And so I'd already for like a year been kind of slowly cutting out meat. So it wasn't like this big shock. And a lot of the foods that I was already making, I just was making on the vegan challenge and just not putting meat. For an example, I would normally do avocado toast, and sometimes I would add wild caught, like very high quality salmon onto my avocado toast. Or when I would have like a kale salad, I would add maybe some like wild caught tuna or salmon. And so instead of adding that, I just did it basically. And so yeah, I just kind of catered the meals to what I was already doing. So it wasn't a huge shock to me. And I didn't find the challenge particularly hard. I would say the hardest part of it was eating out. Some people don't eat out a lot, and I am someone who does. My husband and I, one of our favorite things to do together is literally to eat and try new foods. When we travel, we're very much ones that like to try all the different foods. We look up the best places to eat. We were in Thailand, we ate lots of Thai food and all kinds of different stuff. And so I would say that if you're not someone that eats out a lot, you'll probably be fine. But if you're someone like me who does, it will be challenging. And some people might not think that it is, but you can eat vegan. But I'm gonna be honest, I didn't enjoy the food as much because I had to make so many restrictions. And keep in mind, I am gluten-free. So maybe if you're not gluten-free, like it won't be that, you know, restrictive. But at restaurants, it is crazy. Something you would think that would be vegan and they maybe add a little bit of butter that you didn't know, or they're not educated enough to know what vegan food is, so they might accidentally like put dairy or like accidentally cook something with a little bit of butter. And I noticed that a lot, where every time I'd go out, I have to ask questions of like, does this have butter? Does this have gluten? And it was kind of made the eating out experience for me personally kind of exhausting, if I'm honest. And especially with just our relationship with me and my husband, like anytime he'd want to take me out, he would be pretty restricted on where we could go and what we could eat. And it kind of became a drag. So I just want to be honest with that part of the experience. And if you're someone who also travels a lot, like me and my husband, you might run into situations where you really have to ask a lot of questions because people just aren't as familiar with vegan food. And you know, it's not their fault, they just don't know. And you know, a plant-based lifestyle is really, I mean, I guess not new, but something not as many people are doing. So just keep in mind and give a lot of grace to whoever your server is or whatever, and be really nice, because I think sometimes people that eat plant-based can get a bad rep of just kind of being, you know, sometimes maybe even a little bit of snobby or rude. And I just encourage you guys that if you are planning on trying vegan, or you are, just to be really considerate to your server at restaurants. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to mention that tidbit of transition, that it was really different for me. If you're eating hamburgers every day and you eat fast food and you don't eat lots of fruits and vegetables, like all this stuff, it might be harder for you. And you know, you might do well with maybe more of a unhealthy vegan diet if you're doing it for ethical reasons, just to transition, because there's tons of different like black bean burgers, like fake meats, which honestly I didn't really like a lot of the fake meats. And I think if I were to stay on a plant-based diet long term, I would probably just like not do a lot of fake meats because they didn't really taste very good. And I often found that like mushrooms would taste better, or like beans or lentils honestly were a better substitute for me than like the fake meat. because although it's not meat and it might be a little bit healthier, a lot of those products do have a lot of preservatives in them, so they're not necessarily healthy. So yeah, that's kind of just what I wanted to say about that. Another thing is that if you were in a serious relationship with someone who is not going to be plant-based, it might be a little bit more of a challenge for you. That was challenging for me, just in the sense that I had to buy meat and vegan food when I would grocery shop, and that would get really complicated because I'd be buying like all the meat products, maybe had some dairy, and then I would be also purchasing all of the vegan products that I was gonna eat, and then when we'd have dinner we would kind of do our own thing. So that was definitely, I would say, a challenge. I think the transition is a lot easier if you're doing it with a friend or a family member or maybe a significant other, because it can be hard when you live with someone and you're just cooking completely different things and you're having to grocery shop, and especially if you share groceries or you're married, like you're gonna have to buy both, and that can be really hard. There'd be some nights where he would have something that I would want and I'd be kind of like preparing like my vegan version of it, and I'd have to like cook two separate things. So yeah, I wanted to mention that aspect. And as far as like weight loss for me, I really did not lose any weight. I know I mentioned in my last video that I had lost weight, but I think my scale was broken because my scale's been kind of weird lately, and I weighed myself the next day and I weighed exactly the same. So I didn't personally lose weight on the diet. But if you're someone who is kind of like eating unhealthy and just had a bad lifestyle in general, if you were someone who were eating lots of meat, sugar, if you were on a lot of maybe pharmaceutical medicine, stuff like that, and your whole lifestyle was just bad, you're probably gonna lose a good amount of weight if you transition to this diet. Like I said, was already kind of having a healthier lifestyle, so it didn't really change my weight at all, and that's okay. I was hoping to lose a little bit of weight, but it wasn't really the entire point of this challenge for me. So if you're someone who already eats pretty clean, you might stay the same, and that's okay because you're probably at your healthy weight, so that's fine. So yeah, I wanted to mention that aspect, and the other one I wanted to mention was I did have really weird skin stuff, and I know that that is common for some people and not common for other people. Some people, their skin clears up amazing and they look incredible. My skin freaked out, and I don't know why. I have had a long history of skin issues, so I wasn't entirely surprised by it. I think sometimes for me, when I change a diet drastically, it does kind of mess with my skin. And like I mentioned in the other video, it was like parts of my skin were really breaking out, but I also had very like dry, patchy skin at the same time. It was so odd. It was like breaking out and then also like really dry and dull in certain areas of my skin. So that was really frustrating for me personally. I would assume that if I stayed on the vegan diet for long term, I'd probably have a better or a more accurate view on whether my skin would be clear or not. I might have just needed another month or two for my skin to really change and kind of get used to the diet, as well as my weight. It could be that if I stayed on the diet longer, all of a sudden my weight would drop, but I only did it for a month, so I can't really comment on that aspect of the diet. But yeah, all in all, it was a really great experience for me. What I also want to talk about is what I kind of learned from this experience. One of the things I noticed right off the bat is I did have really great energy. There was one week where my energy dipped really low, but I just needed to take iron. And once I did that, I was fine. So you might need supplements, you might not. Some people seem to be fine with them, some people need them. But if you feel like you need a boost, you should probably take some iron with the vitamin C so that you can absorb it better, and then also maybe some vitamin B12. And we all need vitamin B12, so you're probably good to take it anyways because we all tend to be deficient in it no matter what diet you have. So I felt like my energy was good. Another aspect that I honestly didn't expect to experience going into it was that I did feel like more spiritually connected. And that's something I noticed a lot. And I also experienced this feeling when I fasted for 2 weeks and I drank nothing but vegetable juice and fruit juice in liquid form for 2 weeks. And I felt very spiritually connected during that time. I felt more sensitive. I was more aware of my own emotions and even the emotions of other people, and generally just the energy of things. And I know that sounds kind of maybe a little bit woo-woo or a little bit crazy, but honestly, I felt more spiritually connected. So that was something that I was aware of for sure. Another thing that I learned was to cook more. I had to cook a lot more on this diet because a lot of things, you need a lot of flavor on the vegan diet because you're not having meat. A lot of sauces and flavor, like, I feel like kind of make or break the food. So I was having to cook a lot more, and I was a lot more challenged when I would grocery shop for certain things because I had to literally read everything and see, like, just making sure it was vegan. Like, even certain like dark chocolates, I would be kind of on the defensive of like, this is vegan or not, and a lot of them would kind of tell you down below if it was vegan. So I cooked more. I was more aware of what I was buying and what was in my food. And yeah, I kind of just learned more about myself, that I am someone that if I really, really wanted to, I could probably stick to this diet. So I kind of want to tell you guys now, like, what I'm thinking post this challenge and kind of the way I'm going to continue eating. So I have not been eating vegan since the challenge. I've had meat, I've had dairy, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to eat moving forward. I do think that I want to eat more plant-based and continue to eat that way as much as possible, but I don't think I will be 100% plant-based. I do think there'll be times where something will have butter or dairy, or there are times that I want to have meat, and I've kind of left it open, and so that's kind of where I'm at right now. It could change in the future. I might be 100%, but as of right now, I think when I travel or when I eat out, I want the freedom to not stress about it. And if I have a little bit of meat, be okay with that. That's kind of where I've personally landed. Like I said, it might change. But I'm thinking even now I just want to eat meat maybe a few times a week, or maybe every other week, or maybe just when I eat out. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely from this challenge taking away eating less and less meat and dairy. I want to slowly just kind of not have a lot of it, but also have the freedom to like not be restricted. So that's kind of where I have landed. Also, when we travel or we're somewhere, I don't want to have to stress about it. And that's just my personal journey with this. If you are 100% vegan, go you. That is so amazing, and it's so hard, and it's so commendable, people that are 100%, and maybe someday I will be, but right now I'm just kind of feeling it out, and that's kind of where I landed. Well, alright, this video has been super long. I can see it's already like 18 to 19 minutes, so I'm gonna stop talking here. If you have any more questions, please feel free to write comments down below. And yeah, check out my other videos kind of telling you my whole journey, and I put so much of the food that I ate throughout the month, so if you're looking for foods, check those videos out. And yeah, please subscribe so that you can get notified about my videos, and give this video a like. Alright guys, well thank you so much for watching. I'll be back next week with a new MBTI video. I'm really excited. I'm going to be talking about ISFJ personality type, and I've been wanting to talk about that personality type for a while. So yeah, stay tuned for that video. Alright you guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.